If you are looking to PR your next race, there are two crucial parts to that equation. One is going to be the taper, and one is going to be carbing up to properly fuel your body so you can show up on race day ready to go. So today we're going to dive into how to specifically taper for your race, to reduce your training volume, and how you can properly carb up for the race so that on race day, all your hard training can go to work, you can show up and you can PR your next race. Now, if you guys are new to the channel, I am in my last week of my 12-week build in a half marathon, and I've been documenting my full sub 135 half marathon training series. So that's what we're going to be speaking to today, is we're going to be speaking to tapering and carbing up for a half marathon, but the same general rules apply whether it's a 5K, 10K, a full marathon, or even ultra marathons. There's just going to be things there to be slightly higher, slightly lower, slightly longer. But the same framework is going to apply. You need to taper and you need to carb up if you're looking to optimize your performance. Yes, we're going to be talking about carbing up today and nutrition, but overall, your nutrition throughout your training is also very important. So we're going to talk about specific numbers in relation to carbing up. But if you're looking for more structured details on nutrition and even specific macros tailored to you, I actually have a free resource on my website where you can fill out a form and we'll do a free personal custom macro calculation for you. So if you're interested after watching this video, I'll leave the link to that down in the comments in the description below. Like I said, check that out. It's a free resource that you can use to get some more specific numbers on where your macros should be. So we're not going to waste any time. We're going to hop right into tapering first, and then we'll talk about carbing up. So let's start off with, what is a taper? A taper is basically a reduction in training volume that is going to help you recover. It's going to help you show up on race day fresh, rejuvenated, and ready to try and give it your best performance, to set a PR, to do your best. If we go through our training, say that you're doing an 8-week, a 10-week, a 12-week training block, over time, you're going to start to build fatigue. We start to overreach, and eventually there becomes the aspect of overtraining. So that's what we're trying to avoid. Over that training block, we're trying to overreach so that we can increase performance. And right before we start to overtrain, that's where ideally we want this taper to happen. And like I said, I'm going to speak to a half marathon. If you have questions about 5Ks, 10Ks, or anything else like that, let me know in the comment section below. I'd be happy to help with those specific questions. But I'm going to speak to half marathon tapering because that's what I'm documenting in this sub 135 half marathon training series on YouTube. Now, as far as your taper, the way that I'm going to structure it in my own training is I'm starting that taper 7 days out from the race. Some people like to do a little bit more. Some people like to do a little bit less. But that is where we're going to start to reduce that volume. And how I'm reducing volume is roughly around 50% of what I'm normally running. So on a normal running week throughout the 12 weeks of my prep, I've built up to 30-ish plus miles, around that 30 to 34 mile mark per week. The full week from Sunday to Sunday, so my half marathon is on a Sunday, the full week leading up to that full half marathon, I'm running 17 miles, which is exactly 50%. So that just goes to show you that I'm reducing my mileage by 50%. Now, if you count the Monday through Sunday, I'm only running 10 miles. So my taper is as follows the week before the race. Like I said, my race is on a Sunday. So the week before, a full week before on Sunday, running 7 miles easy. That Tuesday, I'm running 5 miles easy. The Wednesday, I'm running 3 miles easy. And then Friday, I'm doing a 2-mile light, easy shakeout run. So the 7 days leading up to that half marathon, I'm only running 17 miles, where the week before, I'd been running 34 miles. So some people will say that you should taper more. Some people will say that you should taper less. But this is specifically what I'm doing, and I know has worked for me in the past, to show up and have my legs recovered, to run enough to where I'm not going stir crazy and feel like I'm not running, but also not run too much to where my legs are too fatigued coming into the race and I can't set the race time or give it my best effort that I would like to on race day. Now, here's another important piece to this taper that you can kind of choose and play around with, and this is personally what I like to do. Some people like to do a shakeout run the day before a race. Some people like to rest the day before a race. Now, for me personally, what I like to do is I like to have a full entire day of rest the day before a race, so that my body's fresh, recovered, and that's more of a personal preference for me. But some people like to have that 2-mile shakeout run. But that's really the distance that you want 1 to 2 days before a race, is that 1 to 2 miles, nice easy pace, just kind of get your legs moving and get excited for that race. But I wouldn't do any more. I wouldn't necessarily do any less. You can kind of leave it up to you if you want to do it 2 days before a race or the day before a race. Also, during the week of a taper, I will increase the amount of mobility and recovery work that I'll do. So increase stretching, increase foam rolling, increase everything that I've already been doing, but just make sure that you're staying on point with your recovery. And then I would also decrease your total amount of strength training volume that you're doing, especially if you're doing any lower body strength training. I would definitely decrease total training volume. I would reduce the sets, reduce the intensity. You're not trying to set PRs the week of a race. You can do that after the race is over, but definitely decrease the volume and intensity of your strength training sessions, because the whole idea behind a taper is to repair the body, have it feeling fresh. And even if you're doing really heavy upper body sessions that you're taking sets to failure, doing a bunch of volume and drop sets and all sorts of hypertrophy work, that's going to place fatigue on the body that can negatively impact your performance on race day. So pull that volume back a little bit on your strength training, even if it's upper body. It's going to help you show up your best on race day. So as far as the carb up, this is the second piece of the puzzle that I see so many people mess up. And a lot of times people think that the night before a race, we got to eat a big spaghetti dinner and carb up before the race. But actually, that is a huge misconception. And where you actually need to start the carb up is a full 72 hours before the race. And there's a couple misconceptions that I want to clear up, and super important things that you need to follow and guidelines you need to follow if you're looking to properly carb up. So first, let's start off with why we would want to carb up. Those carbs that we're ingesting into our body through our food are going to be broken down into glucose. And our muscles have the ability to store that glucose as glycogen. And that glycogen is a really good energy source that we can use on race day. So by reducing the training volume, we're using less carbohydrates throughout the week. So our body's going to start to intake more of those carbs, store it in our muscles, and we're going to have a good energy reserve. But that process does not happen overnight, and that's exactly why I want to start about 72 hours before the race. So basically what that means, if my race is on a Sunday, I'm going to start carbing up on a Thursday. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'm going to be eating higher carb amounts than I would normally eat. Now, a couple of things here. This is not an excuse to just go crazy and eat whatever you want. This is not an excuse to just eat like an asshole. Sorry for lack of a better phrase. How you want to structure your carb up is you need to eat more carbs, but you just need to eat more of the high quality food that you're already eating. So I'm a huge proponent of eating 80 to 90% of your diet and structuring that around whole food sources. The other 10 to 20% you can fit in fun things, but this is not the time to go out and go on a bender. You want to make sure that, okay, if I'm having potatoes and rice and pasta and breads and fruit, I'm just going to eat more volume of those foods, and that's going to help me get additional carbohydrates that my muscles are going to store, and I'm going to be able to tap into that energy source on race day. Now, as far as what I would recommend as far as your carbohydrates before a race, so for my current macros right now in this half marathon prep, I've been eating around 425 to 450 carbs on a daily basis. So for me, what I'm going to do 3 days before the race is I'm going to increase my carbs by 100 to 150 extra grams of carbohydrates. Like I said, I'm not going to go out and go on a bender and eat pizza and donuts and ice cream. I'm just going to eat more high quality food. So if I'm having potatoes, I'm going to have more potatoes. If I'm having rice, I'm going to have more rice. I'm going to find a way to cram as many carbs as I can to get to that 550 to 600 grams of carbs per day. My muscles are going to soak it up, and you'll literally feel the difference of this, especially when you're bringing your training volume down. Because throughout this prep, I've been running 30 plus miles a week, strength training 4 days a week. Those carbs are constantly getting broken down as an energy source. Whereas if you're pulling back that training intensity, but you're taking your food intake up, what you're going to start to feel is you're going to feel a little more strength. You're going to feel like your muscles are a little more full. And like I said, that's going to be the perfect place to be to where you are going to be ready to go on race day. So a couple of the main takeaways with carbing up is make sure that you do it before the night before a race. Yes, you still need to have carbs and a surplus of carbs the day before, but you also need to make sure that the 2 other days, so the 3 days prior to a race, you are carbing up. Make sure that you keep them good, high-quality carbohydrate sources, and make sure that you are getting enough hydration and water. This is a huge area where a lot of people mess up, where they just drink water. You need to also add electrolytes before a race. So what I personally do, I own a supplement brand with my wife. I will additionally add electrolytes the couple days before a race, and I'll add a surplus of electrolytes the day before. And then I have a full regimen that I've been working on from week to week that I've documented in the series of my pre-workout, pre-run, pre-race fueling strategy. And I'll cover that in my video next week where I go through the full documentation of the half marathon, show everything leading up to the race day, packet pickup, all that type of stuff. Be sure to be on the lookout for that. But make sure that you are using electrolytes as an extension of your diet, because if you're just adding water, you're actually reducing your blood plasma and blood volume. And by increasing your electrolytes, you're actually going to be able to perform and show up better on race day. So I'm definitely sipping on our pink Starburst Fit Grind electrolytes. We actually are launching those soon. So if you're interested in checking those out, you can head over to our website, fitgrindformula.com. I'll also leave the link in the description below, as well as a discount code if you're interested in picking up some pink Starburst Fit Grind electrolytes. So overall, the main takeaways of the video: Tapering is a great way to reduce your training volume. Typically, you want to reduce your training volume by 50, 60, maybe even 70%, depending on your race. Like I said, we're talking about a half marathon here, so this may be different if you're running a 5K, 10K, or full marathon or ultra marathon. And also, you need to make sure that you're increasing your recovery work, so that you're adding stretching, mobility work. You might even look at doing some ice baths, just everything that you can do to show up as fresh as you can on race day. And then the carb up, make sure that you are doing a carb up 3 days before a race, so 72 hours before the race, not just the night prior. Make sure that you are fueling up, you're using good high quality carbohydrate sources, you're just getting more of those high quality carbohydrate sources, and then you're also properly fueling your body and hydrating your body with extra electrolytes. 3 days before the race, the day before the race, even a couple hours before the race. And like I said, I will fully document that on my video next week, where I'll show you exactly what you need to do and everything that I'm personally doing before the race and on race day. And we'll see what happens when we go for the sub 135 half marathon. So that was a lot of information. If you guys have questions, make sure to let me know in the comment section below. I would be happy to help any way that I can. Like I said, if you're looking for more structure with your nutrition, I have that free resource on my website. You can go click the link in the comments in the description below, fill out that form, and I'll personally do a free macro calculation for you to give more structure around how many carbs, protein, and fat that you need to be eating to reach your fitness goals. So thanks for tuning in, guys. If you found anything helpful, hit that thumbs up button for me. I'll leave a couple other videos to go watch on the screen here next. Make sure you check those out, and I'll see you guys in the next one.